here. Cool. Same here. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Southern Sorcery Top 10 Tuesday. Woo! Boy, howdy, do we have an exciting one today. Today we're covering everyone's favorite topic, and that's instants. Instants. What do you think of when you think of instants, Daniel?
Well, I think of certain instants in time, but whenever I think of instants, like in Magic the Gathering, or just the word instance?
In Magic the Gathering.
Oh, instance, man. I think of removal mostly. I think is like where my head goes most of the time with instants. That the interaction of, spot removal or counters. That's kind of where my head, or fogs, buffs, combat tricks, the whole gambit. But mostly removal, I think, is like when someone's like, "Oh, I'm going to interact," like, "Oh, I have a response." It's like, "Ah, heck,
yeah,
this can't be good."
That's my keyword. Responses. I think of scary stuff. Instant speed is scary.
Yeah. Yes.
And it is the surprise.
It's like, and you're almost never expecting it. And it's like you get in the flow of the game, and then someone's like, "I have a response." You're like, "Oh no, I forgot that." Oh
yeah.
Your stomach gets sick a little bit.
No spoilers in our list. There's instants that are free. There's stuff that you can do with flash even at that speed. It's just that speed.
Nasty.
It's a lot of nasty stuff. But today these are like I said in the previous video, these are our high level looks. So we're not diving super deep into it. This is just like the broad strokes, what we thought would be like our top 10 instances. Again, we did not look at our lists. These were both just subjective lists that we both did on our own time and then collaboratively came together with our point value. To remind you of the point values, anything that was ranked at the number 1 spot got 10 points, all the way down to the number 10 spot got 1 point. So it's kind of the reverse of the top 10 is how the point values went. You combine the lists, and then from that top point value we went from a true combination of 1 through 10. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Let's just, we'll take a second here to mention 2 honorable mentions that almost made it but didn't make it. The first one is a good one, Heroic Intervention. We all know and love it.
That's one of the ones that I feel like that always gets me. Is like the heroic I'm going to get this board wipe and deal with this threat of a board state, and it's like, oh, I'll just oh no, now not have I only not dealt with the threat, I've handicapped the rest of the board. That feels the worst.
It does, yeah. The Heroic Intervention's a great card. Gets a lot of play. It's hard to probably see a green deck or a deck with access to green that is in tune with meta, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't run it. It's just an easy,
it's gonna be there.
Yeah, and then the next honorable mention we had, this is a kind of a combo piece since they come from the same set. These are from the Ikoria precons way back in the day. They've since been reprinted a couple times, but Deflecting SWAT / Fierce Guardianship. 2 very commander-centric instances that you'll only see in that format because both of them say you can play them for free if you control your commander. Both bombs, Deflecting SWAT, of course, can exchange the target of a spell, and then Fierce Guardianship is just counter target non-creature spell. It's a great counter that a lot of times you can sneak right in there if you have your commander.
Yeah, they're both very good. Free spells are always really good. Spoiler alert.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just for curiosity's sake, before moving to our top 10, where did you have? So I had Heroic Intervention at 8. Did you have it on your list?
I think it was off of my list. I opted for a couple of other. I think I had actually Deflecting SWAT and Fierce Guardianship at like that 8-9 slot on my list, which is why it also made the honorable mention.
So it's like the same for me. I didn't have them on my list, so that's why. So. Cool.
Yeah,
it's funny how those lists work out, and great cards. No hate towards either one of them because very playable. I play with all 3 of them.
But yeah, there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of instants. So and there's only 10 spaces. So
only 10 spaces.
Some really good really good cards are not gonna make it.
And they're so good. Yeah. Well, let's dive into it. I'm excited to talk about some of these. Some of these are very off meta a little bit. I was excited to see some of them make the list. But let's just
Yeah,
start.
for
Yeah,
sure.
let's just dive in. Number
Sounds good.
10, we have Ad Nauseam. This is a black instant for 3 and 2 black. Reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand, and then lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. So Ad Nauseam is a CDH staple. I have seen people whiff on this because they don't have the life to pay and they couldn't find exactly the line to win, but more often than not they do. And this, I chose this card specifically because it is such a CEDH staple. I know you didn't have it on your list, and I had it, I think, at number 7 on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, super powerful card. There are, some other cards that do similar types of things, but at instant speed, I think this one stands alone. You have Bolas' Citadel, and you have a few other ways to pay life to cast cards and creature cards and kind of try to dig through your deck. But yeah, this one, like you said, in CEDH, this one can just dig to find that combo piece you need. In CEDH especially, life's just such a resource that, if you're going to combo off, it doesn't matter if you've got 1 life or 100 life, you still comboed off. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, what's the hit the easy button because it's a staple. Like I said, it's hard pressed to find a pod that's probably not got an ad nos line, or at least someone who has a deck with it in there for CDH. So I think it's a good number 10 for sure. Moving on from there, at number 9, we have one of the most iconic, I think, cards in the game of Magic, and that's Lightning Bolt.
definitely. Yep.
Yeah, for 1 red, deal 3 damage. Like it's so playable, and like even in the realm of like EDH, where like things are CDH is very like it has a meta, so there you take the card pool and you shrink it down a little bit because you're looking for specific stuff. But even in EDH, like Lightning Bolt still slides in and can do really good things. It's still 3 damage for 1. Like it's just a great card.
I mean, how many times have you seen somebody use spot removal on a creature that toughness power 3 or less? It's constantly. And so, you're using a beast within that, or swords to plowshares. You're using, and then you're giving them resources in, so I mean, Lightning Bolt gets rid of, anything power 3 or toughness 3 or less. It's really good rate. I mean, obviously it's not the versatility. Those other cards can remove other things, but you're in red. I mean, damage is the way red's removal works most of the time.
Yeah.
So, that's a really good rate. Get rid of those Esper Sentinels. Get rid of, whatever the value engine is. Get rid of that, commander that's a 3/3. Like, great card.
Yeah, I recently slotted it into my Rakdos deck because with Rakdos to cast, I have to deal damage to somebody or someone, and so like. It's just for 1 red I deal 3 damage, and then when he comes out, that 3 damage comes into play because now my stuff's already 3 less because someone's already lost 3 life. So like it's and that's just a little 1-drop red, and it's been around since alpha. Like but it has seen play since alpha all the way up to 2024. So it's had 31 years.
It is just a really strong card, just a very very good card. Like I said, great return on the rate for sure.
Yes. Yep. All right, cool. So number 8 we have, and I'm so excited this one made it because I love it's one of my like low key. This might be one of my favorite like instances in Commander. That's Boros Charm. I love Boros Charm because it's very versatile, and it's just like I won't say sneaky because like a lot of people play Boros Charm. It does get a lot of play, but at the same time, it's like it's not as much play as some of these other cards, and so it is like like when you drop it, you're like, Boros Charm. Oh wow, yeah, that is.
It's still pretty sneaky. It's still pretty sneaky. It does so much for you. It is extremely versatile. It can be a finisher with the double strike. You sneak that in on some combat. I'll take that. Oh well, take this too. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's enough to get through and then paying 2 to deal 4 damage to a player could be also a game ender, but also great for planeswalker removal, which there's not a ton. There's not a whole lot of planeswalker removal. Like in at least in meta terms, like they're and then way to sneak in some damage on a planeswalker, and most of the time probably get rid of it.
Yeah, and then just saving your board, which probably is the most used method of it. It's just like I'm gonna give all my permanents indestructible once in a turn. It's just it's sneaky because it has so many different options. I love it, and it's one of the more consistently expensive uncommons. I think it always has sat around like anywhere from like $2 to $3 to like $5 to $6, like depending on like the reprints and stuff. But it's
I mean,
it's a
for
great
what
card.
it does, if you put it side by side with Heroic Intervention, it's still that same like anti-board wipe surprise element. Obviously, it doesn't grant hexproof, but price-wise, Heroic Intervention until recently was a $10 or $10+ card. So this is significantly less as far as on your wallet goes as well.
Absolutely, yeah, yep. Nice. So number 7, then we've got, this is another twofer that we've kind of combined since they're very similar in what they do other than color. Generous Gift, and then the green opposite of it, Beast Within. Both two generic and either a white or green. Destroy target permanent. Create a either 3/3 elephant or a 3/3 beast. Great card because it's the keyword permanent, right? Like anything that's in my way that you are staxing me out. You have a land that I can't. You're mazing a Vith something, or whatever the case may be. It's just such a specific, like, I'm not gonna worry. Like, I can remove anything at this point with this card. So that's it's such a good removal piece.
Yeah, at the price of giving them a 3/3 creature, a vanilla creature. Yeah, great cards. See tons of play. Are affordable thanks to lots of reprints. A lot of precons come with those. So these, like, if you're making a 2-color deck in either green or white, these are gonna go in it for sure. If you start pushing 3, 4, 5 colors, there may be some other options that you would rather look at. But honestly, these still see a ton of play. I feel like in every deck, just because of what you said, it's target permanent. It can go after anything, which is great.
Yep. Yeah. It's like I mean, it's just the trade off is always worth it. Like I'll give you a 3/3 all day to remove this like insanely powerful piece that's stopping me or about to win you the game. So yeah, the trade off is definitely well worth the result.
How else are you going to get rid of a guy as Cradle? Like you got, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, unless you're running like a little bit of land destruction or some other like like mass removal type stuff, like it's tough. No one wants to be that guy that runs land destruction, but at the same time, it's like for the betterment of the table, like I got to get rid of this glacial cavern, or this cradle, something that's just
get rid of that Yavi Maya if they've got forest walk. Like, hey, I'm not trying to have forest anymore. Get that out of here.
Field of the Dead. There's so many like lands like that have really they've always been problems, but like there's just so many nowadays that like you get rid of one, it's like, okay, now like that board's a little more manageable.
That changed
overall.
it, yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the taboo in Casual Commander is like land destruction. Like, hey, nobody messes with anybody's lands. That's kind of the unwritten rule. But Maze of Ith doesn't even tap for mana, so it's not like every land is created equal, and some of them are, absolutely
they're not
just game winners on their own.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I don't mind as long as someone is like adamant, like, hey, I'm running land destruction. I want to play this land destruction deck. Like, okay, I know going into it, like, what's going to happen. It's when it's sneaky and you're like, holy cow! Like, I didn't know you ran Geddon or all these stupid like like come on, man. But
destroy all lands.
But like spot land removal, I'm a little okay with as long as it's like justified. I think that's why it's okay to like strip mine, or a wasteland, because it as long as you're not taking someone out of color, and you can, I guess, I've seen it happen. Some people have gotten pretty mad. It's like, I've got my one blue source and they're gonna like wasteland it or do something to that effect. Like,
I mean, still though, like you're talking, that probably doesn't feel great. But like at the end of the day, like, you know, it is what it is what it is at that point. Like, okay, well, I don't love it when someone removes my engine that's not a land either, but like it does, I mean, it happens. So
It happens, yeah. That's a rabbit hole too. I can go on for land about like the pros and cons of land destruction for days, but
all's fair in love and magic.
it is very true. Yeah, someone's got to win somehow, you know, technically. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Next up, we've got another very iconic card. Probably the rest of these, you know, you could probably throw that title on there, but this one's another oldie but goodie. Is Counterspell. You know, the old two blue mana. You know, I've got 2 blue mana held up. You know exactly. I know you've got a counter in your hand, don't you? It's, you know, the Counterspell's coming. Like, it's just the OG Counterspell.
It is like, and you could have gone with any number of, you know, 2 cost counter spells here. You know, Arcane Denial is maybe better. You know, a colorless and a blue as opposed to having to have the 2 blue. You are giving up 2 cards though to your opponent, so it's like, well, does that offset the cost? There's a debate to be had there, and we probably will at some point make a top 10 counters video where we will go into that a little bit further. But suffice to say that this is the counterspell, like the counterspell. So that, you know, that's why that one is here and not any of the others.
Absolutely, yeah. And anything, I think, in this Hiva slot, and the good thing about it's anything. It's not just like a creature or a sorcery, and you know, it counters really anything. So, and like you said, it's just the grandpappy of all the counter spells. But it's in the name, right? Counterspell.
Yep,
so.
Exactly. So the counterspell. Yeah.
The counterspell. Yeah, numero uno. All right, next up we've got another 2 similar cards. You hardly ever see a deck that runs one without the other if they're going to run them, and that's Swords to Plowshares, and then we have Path to Exile. Both essentially for 1 white will exile a target permanent, and then the one will give you life, as the other one will go get you a land. But aside from that, they're essentially the same, you know, same type of card. The good thing is, I think that what makes them so powerful, obviously for 1 mana, but then it's exiling something. So like the recursion aspect is then, you know, removed. It gets around indestructible. That's why these get so much play. You talk about cards. I see anybody that has access to white. I see these almost 100% of the time. Yes.
Yeah, I would venture to say that it's probably like a top 2 or 3 white spell. If you just ranked here the top 10 white spells, I would say that those would share a space together in probably the top 3.
Yeah, you would have a hard time like not putting that on your list. I think like it just playability, strength,
versatility.
I mean, they're strong.
Strength,
versatility. Yeah. I mean, and it stinks too. It's like, because late game when they're removing your piece and you're trying to counter it, like nothing feels worse than like expending one of your powerful counter spells on something that literally cost it 1 mana for your opponent. Yeah, because you like, I'm countering. I almost guarantee they have something followed up with this. This is just kind of their first like punch being thrown, and I have to do something, because if it gets exiled, you know, maybe I'm screwed.
You're done.
So It makes for hard decisions late game. In early game, it can take someone like, you know, right off the, you know, the game quickly.
Yeah, that player that jumps out to the Soul Ring Arcane Signet turn 1 and goes into their turn 2 with 5 mana. You can at least maybe slow that person down a smidge, and in the early game, you know, probably have access to that 1 mana that you need to potentially deal with someone's you know, 5 drop on turn 2, and it's like, well, you know what?
Yeah,
let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that early engine, that early commander, that early Shieldred, or whatever the case might be.
Seen a lot of people get, you know, shoot their shot with like a bunch of free artifact spells to ramp into a big splashy play, but really not have anything to kind of protect it, and then it just simply gets like, it resolves, but I'm going to path it now that it has resolved, and you're like, man, that just, you know,
that
ouch,
feels bad.
You know,
that was all my gas. Like, now I've got 2 cards in. two cards in hand.
Yeah, so it's these it's cheap. That's what makes them dangerous because they're so
Yep.
cheap. You can see them. You can see them early game. You can stash them in your hand, and they're late game. It's easy. Yeah. So
yeah, and they're good. They're good in every phase of the game. So like that's
yes.
That's another reason they're so high. But yeah, I think if it was Destroy, it wouldn't be in the top 10. It's the Exile.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. After that, we have one of the most just this card is number 4. This is Teferi's Protection, and this is just one of those cards that like. Gosh, man, nothing's more infuriating when you think you have the win and someone just phases right out of the game. It's just
I'll see you next turn.
Yeah, you son of a
gun.
Dirty
rat. Yeah, 100%. Man. I've Crater Hoofed or, overran or Chroma's Will. Like, I got this.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, well, I'm just going to Teferi's Protection.
Yeah, you got everybody but me. You can kill the other 2 players.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Me. Yeah.
And then on my next turn, I'm going to kill you because your defense is down now. Yeah, the crackback on this.
Is real.
This is a really sneaky way that probably like people don't think of this card as a win con. I feel like they think about it it's in the name, protection, right? Like they think, oh, this is my fail-safe card. This is my get out of jail free. This is I've got this one in my back pocket. Like, but it is a game winner too because usually you play it as someone shooting their shot. They can't recast the Crater Hoof, like, and everything's tapped down now. So like you get them on the crackback, like you get the win. This game is not only a protection spell, it is a win con potentially. So
absolutely, yeah. There's been several times late in the game where it happens, and you're just like, I mean. When they come back, like it's going to be GG's because we're all just sitting here like defense is down. It's such a good card.
Yes, super good.
Doesn't cost a lot of mana to play. It still is. I think still holds a pretty good premium. I think they're around like $20-$30 still. But just a great card. I mean, it's so powerful. It can save you. It can win you the game. It can do technically both in one swoop if you play it right. But yeah, it just rightfully so. I think in the top 5 again, this would be if you're talking about white spells, this is possibly number 1.
Yeah, potentially
overall. Yeah, potentially. Yeah. After that, we have another very sneaky card. But do what?
I said agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. After that, at number 3, we have another very sneaky card because it's an instant and what it does, and that's Cyclonic Rift.
Another super staple, another $20 to $30 card. Another, it's actually really, to me, it's very similar to Cyclonic Rift in the overall of what it does. As to Teferi's Protection, I'm sorry, very similar to Teferi's Protection. The difference is that obviously you don't phase anything out, but it is very versatile in that it can be that, oh, I need protection, I'm going to bounce everything. This like what's happening over here is way too scary. I'm going to overload it. I'm going to bounce it. And that's a lot more expensive than Teferi's Protection. But yeah, it's more seen as probably the winner, like a game, like, oh, if I can get this overloaded Psych Rift off, that's my win con. I'm going to bounce everyone's blockers. I'm going to bounce everyone's interaction. No more artifacts. No more. Like everything's just going to go away, and I'm going to be the only one with a board state now. So that's going to let me get through with the win. So they're a little bit reversed, and I think like probably people's like the mindset of like what they include the card for. Psych Rift is probably included as a win con versus being protection, and vice versa. Like Teferi's Protection is there for protection and not as a win con, but they can both sort of similarly function that way.
Yeah, it can also stop a win con. I've seen Psych Rift stop someone from winning the game.
Oh, definitely.
Even overloaded or not. Sometimes, like worst case scenario, you're bouncing one thing, but that one thing could be like the win con, the piece that they need to win. Mm-hmm. So like it's got some versatility. Even like I said, worst case, you're not able to overload it, and you're just able to spot remove one thing, bounce one thing. That it's still
bounce that coat of arms, bounce the shared animosity, or whatever the thing is. That's
Bolus of Citadel, get it out of here,
get it out.
All this stuff,
whatever that engine is, whatever that win con is, definitely. It's
Yep.
it's
Super
versatile
powerful
in
card.
that way too.
It's
Yeah.
versatile in that way too. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Number two, this is just, probably we're talking about the OG, like, free counter spells, Force of Will. This is like the grandpappy, like, counter spell, much to its Aiken, is the OG of, like, the free spell concept. This card's all the way back from Alliances, I believe, and has just seen play ever since then. It's just a great card. Has seen play in Legacy, in any type of, like,
Every
competitive
format.
Magic. It's hard pressed in every format. CDH, like, it's just one of those, like, very powerful counter spells because it's free. All you gotta do is pitch a blue card in your hand, exile it, and then you get to play Force of Will for free for a little bit of life as well. It's just a sneaky card because you think you might have a line, and they're tapped down. I'm gonna shoot my shot, and then they're like, man, I know you had that Force of Will. Darn it! Like, you just never know. You never know. That's what makes this card so good.
Yeah, super sneaky, especially because you can cast it for free. You think, oh yeah, they're tapped out. I'm in the clear. No one's got an answer for this, and then the lo and behold, at the low cost of pitching a card and a little bit of life, you are foiled again. Those dang kids.
Foiled again. Those dang kids and their counter spells.
Yeah, and
right,
super
well,
valuable too. Super expensive card. As well.
Yeah,
Holds
good,
a lot of value.
Yeah, and it varies. I will say they've reprinted it a ton here recently. I feel like, because it's not reserve list, but it still gets so much play that it is what it is. It's always going to hold a pretty good value to it. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just it's always a chase card too. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
When they sprinkle in a Force of Will in a set, because you're like, ooh,
yeah.
like I remember pulling one out of Dominator Remaster
It was
Dominator Remastered, and I was just like, and I was just like, oh man,
that full art foil, borderless art,
Yeah.
so pretty.
Yeah, you're just like, yes, such a good pull.
Definitely feels good.
All right, so for our number one, I think we actually both had this at number one. Is why it made number one, or maybe I had it flip flop.
I can't remember if I had it.
Possibly.
I think I had.
Yeah.
I think it was your number one, and I had I had it closer to like fourth or third, maybe. But either way, the cumulative score got it there. Either way.
Yeah. Vampiric Tutor. This is just great because it's an instant speed tutor. It's better than Enlightened, Worldly, and all the other ones because it's not restrictive to a card type. It's just go get a card and put it on top, which is nice. And that to me, instant speed is just like, hey, at the end of your turn, I see that you're tapped down. I'm gonna go get whatever card I need. Or if you have a draw mechanic that you can essentially, it's an instant speed like demonic tutor at that point. Yeah, I'm gonna I know I can draw a card, so I'm just gonna go tutor it to the top, draw it, and answer with whatever I have in my deck. So it's just so versatile as a tutor and cheap. Gosh, it's 1 black mana and and a little bit of life. Like, and it's just what's 2 life in a game of Commander?
Yeah, I mean, these tutors are some of the most powerful cards in the game because it's essentially a wild card. Like it's essentially whatever it needs to be. So for like you said, 2 mana and 2 life. I'm going to go get whatever I need in that moment. And you hope that that's your win con, but in the early game, it's your card draw. It's the land that you need. I actually tutored for a land in a game like a week ago. I had missed like 2 land drops, and so I went and got Nykthos, and it's like, well, that got me back into the game single-handedly, being able to go get what I needed.
Yeah.
Like, you don't love to go get lands with that. You'd rather have the lands and then go get something else with it. But it kept me in the game where I was like 2 turns behind. It allowed me to catch right back up to where everyone else was. So that's why tutors are so powerful, and specifically at instant speed, Vampiric Tutor, because it can be any card. Other tutors are restricted to creatures or a card type. So unless you a mystical tutor,
I mean, they're all one.
The mystical is instants and sorceries. So you could go You could mystical tutor, go find your vampiric tutor, cast the vampiric tutor, then go get whatever you need. If you're in blue black.
Yeah, you could do that. That'd be funny to do if you had the mana and you knew you had the game wrapped up. Like, let's just make it little. Let's just do
I'm
something
gonna go
stupid.
get
you
this
know?
other tutor.
This other tutor.
Yeah. And side note, I'm just gonna say this is completely out of left field. Like, to me, like, Dominator Remastered is such a good set because it has every single one of those tutors in it.
The only
that we
one it
just
doesn't
mentioned,
have,
including Vampiric.
yeah,
Tutor.
the only one it doesn't have is demonic. So such a good set.
Yeah, which
Such a good set.
yeah, it's just a good set. I just like to pump that set up. I don't think it gets enough
doesn't.
love, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, but yeah, Vamp Tutor, 1 mana, 2 life. Go get whatever you want. Instant speed brings home the gold in our list today. This has been our top 10 Tuesday. For instance, again, we'll probably do some more stuff later down the road where we're talking about counters and removal and maybe even like some other stuff. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we'll
we
dig
really
it,
appreciate
dig
you.
a little
Dig a
deeper.
little deeper.
Yeah, exactly. As always, want to say a special shout out to our patrons. You'll see their names on this list. If you'd like to be on this list, our Patreon is open and available with all kinds of tier levels. So if you want some box breaks, you want to join us in maybe determining what we want to do for our next top 10s. We always include our patrons first in any conversations we have for stuff like this, so please feel free to join. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Click all the buttons. And then, we'll see you on the next video.
It's
Doesn't cost-
free.
It's free real
Not a
estate.
dime.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you guys again. We always appreciate the support, the views, the likes, all the love. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.